124. TikTok UTV_124. And Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV, TV for you.
I can't
Welcome to Mornings with me, Tresha Lionel. Thank you very much. It is Thursday, August 26, 2021, and I do hope, as always, that you guys are having a good day. Apologies for the late start, and because of it, we're going to get right into it. For those of you listening to us on radio on our partner station, that's Hits FM, thank you very much for joining us. Also, if you are with us on television on channel 124, good morning to you. And for those of you on the social media platforms, as always, but particularly where it resides on Facebook, I hope that you guys are having a good day. And thanks again for always being here and joining us. I want to say a special good morning to the workers there at the Library Credit Union. I just wanted to shout you guys out. You guys are doing a great job, and I am going to have a new branch soon. So I hope you're doing well, Shazia and all the others working there. We continue with the issues and the developments that we're seeing. Some promises were made by the leader of the opposition, so speaking of the subvention for the St. Lucia National Trust, and some other things, including to a commission that will be formed with St. Jude's, that people will be looking into what has happened there and what will be the future of it. Now, true to his word, I think that has happened, and they were there, including the ministers and some technocrats within the different ministries. They're doing a walk around trying to see what was happening at the St. Jude's site. We remember too that the former Prime Minister spoke a lot of, trying to vaguely people, trying to make us think that it would, be completed, just around the corner, just vote for me, it'll be done by the end of the year, sort of thing that was being said. And thanks to the people curious enough, and they were allowed to go in, people like APA showing us videos of what that building looked like. It was a disaster. So, we could see from there where it is. So I think there will be a press conference later today on different issues, and I'm hoping that that would be one of them. But for now, let's take a look at what that walk around with the Prime Minister and others looked like.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre and the Cabinet of Ministers, accompanied by a team of experts, visited the St. Jude Hospital construction site on Wednesday. The St. Jude Hospital has been housed at the George Odlum Stadium since the original building was destroyed by fire on September 9, 2009. But the crumbling sports arena is in bad shape and working conditions increasingly appalling. Pierre, who expressed gratitude to the medical officials, has vowed to complete the long overdue reconstruction project and get patients and staff out of the dilapidated structure.
I'd like to thank the staff, the officials of the ministry, everyone who is involved in that project, for showing us, for guiding us, for informing us as to what is happening here. I want to thank Dr. François and Dr. Joseph for taking their time off to be with us. I think it was very instructive. We saw many things. It's left to us now to take a decision as to the way forward. But what's important is that the health care of the people of St. Lucia will remain our priority. Priority number one, priority number two, priority number three. And this government is determined to remove people from the conditions that they are in the stadium. I want to take this opportunity to thank the doctors, the nurses, and the staff in the stadium again for the work and to have the fortitude to work in these conditions.
Despite over $100 million spent, the original hospital project, near completion, was halted by the previous Alain Chastanet administration in August 2016. Audits ensued, and following questions about the building standards, construction on a completely new building would begin in 2019 after 2 structures at the original site were demolished. Minister for Health, Moses Jean-Baptiste, was surprised by what he saw during the cabinet tour on Wednesday.
We toured the new buildings and we saw for ourselves far from completion, very far from completion. We actually expected to see a lot more in there, and we asked several questions about the possible completion time, possible completion date, but it looks very challenging at this stage. Our objective has always been to remove the people from the stadium and the staff and visitors and so on as quickly as possible. And we toured the new buildings, but we also went to the traditional buildings, the buildings that were there long ago. And we went to the East Wing, which has been spoken of so many times. And we viewed what is in there. And we have so many questions still. But the priority for us, as I said before, is to remove the people from the stadium as fast as possible.
A technical team has been commissioned to assess the situation in order to expedite efforts to operationalize the long overdue healthcare facility.
Cabinet has put together a technical team, and this technical team will be given the terms of reference, and they will be given a time period, not too long, to determine, to help us determine the way forward. And this way forward will be either we continue with the new buildings. Number 2, do we move the patients to the East Wing? Or number 3, do we immediately work on the conditions at the stadium to relieve the doctors and the nurses and so on immediately while we work on either of the 2 options. So we have some work to do, but we are I'm pretty disappointed in what I saw today. And the experts will guide us, but I can assure the people of St. Lucia, the people of the South who have been suffering, the people of St. Lucia, we can assure you that the Cabinet of Ministers has taken this issue very seriously.
The Prime Minister on his social media platform promises that a comprehensive update will be shared with the public, stating, quote, St. Lucians deserve better. St. Lucians deserve quality healthcare. It has been too long. Unquote. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
Now, I think as well, it means a lot when you hear someone, leader of the opposition, now turned prime minister, staying true to his word that, as soon as he would get in. Today marks, a month since elections last month. So, they've been in, making government, having the positions roughly about 2 to 3 weeks now. So we're seeing some movement. And for some reason, I think it just seems like a longer time. I feel like, Pierre has been prime minister for a while. So looking on the surface there, I think it's a good move. But this is where we need to look at things a bit deeper. And when I decided to do so and really give advice, I think Catherine Sealis, I hope you remember what we spoke about yesterday when she also had advice for the St. Lucia Labour Party. Let's look at it again. Let's remind ourselves of her advice, and I think we could then go to my own and what I think some other people are seeing with this new St. Lucia Labour Party administration. Can we get that thing? It says the St. Lucia Labour Party has a rich history, Catherine Sealis says, of winning an election and keeping their heads down for 5 years, cleaning United Workers' Party mismanagement. My advice to SLP is to reinstate Town Hall Wednesdays, host weekly Q&A and information sessions, digitally and in person when possible. Inform St. Lucia about what you are doing. Yes, everything you want to know about the corruption, mismanagement, debt levels, cash reserves, DHS, CABOT, NIC, family court, all of the other things that she was saying. And for Christ's sake, start cleaning up the public service. That I agree with. Keeping quiet and working hard is no longer an option. Working hard and keeping us informed daily is the only option. Now, again, I think that was very well worded. And looking at what was going on there, something that I think is needed, something that I thought needed to happen, having the professionals there. It struck me that, you know, the person speaking with the Prime Minister now is Saint-Ville. He is a public servant, but we know him as something else. But before we continue into it, take a look at him. He's is to the Prime Minister's, what do you call it, left. And just take a look at what's happening there.
We can come and the medical. We can come and get this done.
So Saint-Ville, who we know as Guy's lackey, is there as a technocrat, I guess, giving advice on what is going on to the Prime Minister. And I think when you see certain things like that and people that know what exactly has been going on, when people have been part and parcel of what we've seen as corruption, a public servant who is able to get direct awards, a public servant who himself being planted there in the public service and doing all of Guy's bidding, will pretend. You know, there are certain things where some of the public servants that we're seeing here clearly have had their own ulterior motive. They have been part of what we're seeing, what we've seen in the 5 years that we have wanted justice for. So when we see now people wanting change and seeing the Prime Minister, you know, listening to this person, walking with this person, I guess it's okay if you're going to, you know, be politically correct and, you know, have everybody together. But where are the other people? Where are the technocrats that aren't the lackeys and the cronies of a former administration, which we know to be corrupt? Where are they? That is what I wanted to see. And I think if we're going to give advice, and if I may be so bold to give advice to the St. Lucia Labour Party, it would be to bring in professionals that are not just, that were there in the 5 years, really putting themselves, putting their businesses at risk and saying what I thought had to be said. And this is not about, you know, money. It's really about professionalism, and people want inclusion. We're going to stick still on that Saint-Ville guy because I think he clearly, he has his issues, he has his history within the public service and with Guy, as I've said, but I think it speaks to a larger issue where we know there are people who do not care, have not cared, they've had their political agenda, and yet they're public servants. So it is a thin line that if somebody we know is not going, has not shown that they're going to be part of your trajectory, of your vision, then, you know, that too is a problem. We're going to take a look at Saint-Ville, speaking of the same St. Jude's years ago, probably giving advice to Alan Chasney, and that didn't happen, but this is what he had to say.
The consultant engineer stressed that the roof is already compromised and it is better to come down in a structured operation. However, he said once the roof comes down, it will set a series of events into motion.
But once the fiberglass sheets come off, it means the process now to remove the rest of the roof must follow in a sequence. That's it must follow. So the moving of the hospital from this facility, it must happen. Once this sheeting comes off, that's it. The sequence of events, you would say, has started. So the hospital must be taken off from this stadium in the shortest possible time.
And that didn't happen, you see Saintville there, and it's not just what people can say and how they have to bend over backwards, making the former Prime Minister happy, making sure Guy is happy. When he was together with Guy and the material they had for St. Jude's and the hospitals, they take it, people don't know where it is, and that's things like laundry equipment and sanitizers that's supposed to take pus and blood out of the bed sheets and everything. Ute latu. So when these people are part of that, I personally don't want to see them. I am not Prime Minister, but it is what I feel, that there should be other technocrats, other professionals there, because what is this guy going to say? What is this guy going to do as part of a new commission or anything of the sort that will mean anything when we know that despite the public servant title that they want to hold, they're nothing more than political hacks that just happen to work in the public service. And knowing that, I think there should be more inclusion of other people, and I can name some. I think Mark Hennicott would be one of them. John Peters should have been in that. Should have been there, looking at what was going on. And if you have to talk, you'd say Curly. Calix George Jr. should have been there. Nathan St. Rose should have been there. For the past 5 years, they have been speaking on St. Jude's without fail on what has been going on there, even when they were not allowed to go in. And these are actual professionals. This is not hacks. This is not Nancy in position. These are people who need to be part of the discussion. And I think, looking at that, I think it was a failed opportunity to have a good PR piece on what that would look like, not just for the country, but for the people who struggle, for the people who hustle, for the people who came out and risked a lot to come out and say and to go against a former Prime Minister that we know to be vindictive. And I think that is an issue that the St. Lucia Labour Party has, that when the time comes, when people are there, when the time comes and you're in government, there is a need where they feel they want to bring people together and believing that good governance is being for all. But I don't think that is the case with people like Saintville. I do not believe that bringing him and not the other people that have been there with you, that have been there advocating, that have been there, doing what had to be done in a very, very difficult time, that they too have to be there, not just because of loyalty, but because of professionalism and competence. It would have been nice to see these people, and just so we remember what has happened with St. Jude's, their discussions, the way that they have dissected it, the St. Jude's situation, the way that there's been analysis on these issues. I think we need to be reminded of that.
Even those that are well off financially in St. Lucia, when they get sick, they go to Tapion. Okay? The standard Tapion was a hotel. If you know, it's a hotel.
I'm very much right. Yes.
Okay. It's a hotel that has been recycled to become a hospital. The standards of the facility at Tapion are in a worse condition than what exists at St. Jude's, and that's the fallacy of the whole thing. So we can talk about pulling a book and showing that corridor should be this space, and if the corridor is 6 inches less, it becomes an issue. Or the height of a ceiling should be some particular height, and if it is 2 inches lower, it becomes an issue. But we're talking about functionality in relation to an expenditure of 100 million, and how can that be salvaged? And if you're telling me that if I have a corridor of 5 feet 6 inches, and the standards are saying it should be 6 feet, and because I short of 6 feet,
6 inches,
6 inches, sorry, that facility should be demolished, I'm saying to you, a madman. I can't support that.
And not just that, but I mean, you've read a lot of these standards. Most of these standards allow for exceptions in existing facilities. In nearly every standard that I've had a look at, you make allowances for. So let's say if you're talking about a corridor, and even that issue of corridors, I think is quite a big challenge, because if you look at one standard, they'll tell you, well, a corridor minimum width is 1.2 meters, and someone might say 1.8 meters, and depending on which one you're going to be applying, that's going to be the question at the end of the day. But you're right, can it function?
And that is the operative word, right? Can a country like St. Lucia afford to throw away $100 million because a corridor may be 6 inches too short or
2 inches
Or
too high.
or too short in ceiling height.
In ceiling height, right? And the question is a categorical no. And when we looked at the facility, when we had the tour, in my opinion, my considered opinion, this was a facility that could be salvaged. And any talk of demolition of that facility, to me, was a no-go.
And when you say salvage, you mean it could be used for the purpose it was being constructed, which was for a hospital?
Which was for a hospital, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, there would be some modifications required.
Right.
But it could be used. And the doctors that were on the visit, all professionals, very, very highly skilled professionals that were there in that particular visit, right? Because they brought some of the doctors from St. Jude's also, who came across, who worked there, were all of them were in one single chorus saying, we can work in this facility.
I mean, let's talk a little bit from the perspective of being an engineer or project manager. You even the best planned projects will have situations where you've got to make design changes. So it's not too unbelievable that you may have a situation where you may have to make changes along the way in a project.
Fine, yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah. Okay. Now I just wanted to get this point on, because you wouldn't take a building after you've worked 2 years on it, say for argument's sake, and you may find out, well, you don't want a bathroom in one area now, you want to shift it to another area for argument's sake. Yeah, maybe the plumbing costs are going to be higher, but you work around it.
But Alex, we have to go back to, there was a report prepared. There was a report commission, I will say rightfully so, but the results of the report also concluded that the building should be completed.
Right.
There was no mention in the report of demolition.
Right.
There was no.
And this is a report that still has not been made public officially. So we're just looking at leaked documents.
Leaked documents. But the fact remains that when you review the document was in fact suggesting that this thing could be salvaged. What the document said is that the document pulled a figure. As I said, whether it is from the deep recesses of hell or
it's at 100 million.
It's at 100 million, right. But no sort of supporting documentation to how we came up with the 100 million. It was just $100 million, right? I couldn't agree with the number, because obviously there was nothing to support the number and how it was developed.
Right.
But the fact remains that there was a conclusion that this building could be salvaged.
If you look at OKEU, it cost $168 million fully completed, meaning the building that you see, all of the equipment, everything, $168 million for a 136-bed operation. We also know that there were cost overruns on that project. Meanwhile, St. Jude's has cost us so far in excess of $118 million, and we're only 50% completed. But more importantly, if you physically look at the building at OKU and compare it to the building at St. Jude's, there is a dramatic difference between the two. And there's no way that you can ever say that St. Jude's current structure is of equal standard to OKU. Yet, if we continue down the path we're going, St. Jude is going to cost substantially more money than what OKU did. It would have been easy for the people who were doing St. Jude's, if they knew better, to have simply gone up to Castries to look at that structure. But the fact is they didn't. And they didn't because there was never a plan as to what was going to happen.
But how do you respond to those government ministers saying that the building is substandard?
It's simple. And again, persons who have since recently visited the St. Jude Hospital site may or may not have had the opportunity to visit the OKEU site when it was
under construction, because they would have said the same thing.
Absolutely. And 6 years ago, it was exactly where the St. Jude site is currently.
Repeat that. 6 years ago.
6 years ago, somewhere in about 2012, I visited the OKEU hospital with the St. Lucia Institute of Architects members. And the hospital site, OKEU, was exactly where St. Jude is right now, concrete floors, windows in place, roof all intact, the envelope of the building is secure, but services were still being put in. Services were exposed. The lay of the site was still bare. There were no roads. It was just as, I'd say there's some images on screen right now, you know, looking at OKEU.
That's
in 2012, June of 2012.
Yeah, keep going, keep going. Yes.
And whereas we just saw the Mental Wellness Institute behind was pretty well complete, these images on screen right now are OKU 6 years ago. And this is no different to where St. Jude's is right now.
Right.
You still have scaffolding around, so that means your external works are still going on 6 years ago at OKU.
Right.
But 6 years on,
yes,
look at how it has transformed.
And it has, look at this now. And it has transformed into a state of the art.
That's right. And that nothing would prevent St. Jude's from evolving likewise.
And becoming a state of the art like OKU.
Like OKU. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then the question of St. Jude having expanded. The original St. Jude had a gross floor area of 76 or 78,000 square feet. Right now it's 165 or so thousand square feet, doubles almost.
Which one is larger, OKEU or currently OKEU or St. Jude's?
St. Jude's is larger than OKEU right now. With the information that I have, I've computed it. St. Jude's is somewhere in the region of about 15.5 thousand square feet bigger. OKEU is down to 14,000 square meters. You know, so that amounts to about 150,000 square feet. St. Jude now is 165,000 square feet.
You all are hearing this, folks? St. Jude's is about 15,000 square feet bigger than the Owen King Hospital, and where the Owen King Hospital is right now is where St. Jude's is at this point, which means St. Jude's has the ability to be finished on par with the OKU. Is that what you say?
Absolutely, Richard. Absolutely.
To say that we didn't know that we were going to find ourselves in this situation, of course, would be a bit of a fallacy, because we knew exactly that we were going to have some very biting financial difficulties at this point in time. And what most countries did, and what is generally recommended when you find yourself in significant cash flow situations where your revenue has gone down, and you're hearing individuals like the Prime Minister's attaché, Mr. Norbert Williams of Bowtie fame, coming out and saying that, you know, well, we were so dependent on tourism, and so therefore you had to expect that we were going to have a big hit on our economy and, of course, on our revenue. And, of course, we expected that, because that is what many, many people have been warning about and talking about for a very long time. Putting all your eggs in one basket, and then it would appear that, especially with our tourism guru of a prime minister, that we wanted to pile on even more eggs into that basket. And the warnings were, but look at what's going on. It's a very tenuous type of sector, very fickle. The same warnings were given when we were talking about why the IMF, why the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, other multilaterals were advising not to go the route of taking on debt for the Iwanor International Airport, and saying, look, do it in a cautious way, enter into a public-private partnership. You don't have to take on the risk. You don't have to take on more debt. But clearly, none of that, all of that went to the wind in terms of advice. And what we saw was that instead of at the point where we got to COVID-19, we knew it was going to get bad. We knew that the projections were, even at that time, coming out of the ECCB and the others, were in fact not even going to be the true extent. And I remember talking about that from back then and saying that, look, we are likely to face a contraction in the economy somewhere in the region of 20 to 30%. Lo and behold, it has happened. Revenue is down. We've known this has happened. Cables are up because government can't meet it's basic running payments to people, whether it's to pay rent in whoever's building, whether it's to ensure that services that you've got to pay for, whether it's to keep medicines in the pharmacies at VH and Soufriere Hospital and St. Jude, all of those things, making payments to various persons, such as transfers to the persons who want social assistance. All of those things are behind because we clearly did not say, hey, let's take a pause, let's slow down.
So this is where I'm at. I wanted to see Mark Hennicott, John Peters, people like Alex George Jr., all professionals, all engineers, civil engineers, who has been chief engineer in the Ministry of Infrastructure, and all of that. I wanted to see these people there, because no matter what, usadi n'importe sa ouvle, lantak moun ki pa kay charge couleur yo pa charge. It's not about color either. It is about the way that they think. This Saint-Ville guy, Miami, I do not like that he has been part of what we've seen in the past 5 years. And yeah, he can talk, but we needed people, real people. You needed your people there. And you have to say it straight up so. You needed your people then. Même si yokadi bagay, they'll say whatever. But I think it is a step in the right direction, like I said from the beginning, that this needed to happen. It was good PR in the way that it happened, but it cannot happen without your people. And not just, people like Norbert Williams, and they'll just come there taking pictures like you pass over. People who have gone to school for decades and they know what they're talking about. They have been talking about it for the past 5 years and even longer. So yes, you need your who's there back out. Okay, can we talk straight? Can we speak frank? You cannot continue to do that. And it's not just with St. Jude's either. You have to think too of the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association. I do not want us to pretend that we don't know what's going on. Let's not pretend that Merle Clark wasn't saying nothing, and the only time they ever said anything that meant anything was when things were leaked. So if you're waiting on the SLMDA to, give a proposal, which again, understandable, but there also must be a thought to the other public servants, people who have come out to say that they already don't feel like they're being involved, and you get the same set of people that were there in the former administration saying nothing, only enabling what was going on, helping to perpetuate it, being the same people that we're seeking advice from. That is our fear, and I don't know whether it stems from some kind of insecurity within the St. Lucia Labour Party to make sure that everybody, gets a little piece of the thing, and everybody, let bygones be bygones. Paisia. Not here, I don't like it, and just for that reason, I think we need to also remind ourselves, Saint-Ville is only, it's a problem, but he's a metaphor for the rest of the public servants masquerading. No, they're UWP hacks masquerading as public servants. So once again, let's look at this Saint-Ville guy on what he had to say about St. Jude's. And not just that, but when we have seen people like John Peters, people like Mark Hennicott, and people like Alex George Jr., which I wanted to remind us, what they've been saying about St. Jude's, the analysis that we've gotten, the way that they've broken it down for us, the way that they have assisted the St. Lucia Labour Party in opposition as well. So from where I stand, it was disappointing to not see them there and see the people that were part of a corrupt system. And they can speak, and that's okay, because maybe they're public servants and you need to let that happen. The St. Lucia Labour Party needs to make sure of that. And I also know too, and that's one thing that you have to give on both counts. There are people who are coming from wherever they're coming from, and they're looking for a job, they're looking for this. You must be getting calls, you must be inundated, and I'm sure it is a very difficult thing to do. But when it comes down to it, you must remember the people who were there, and that's quite simply what I think about that. But like I said, let's look at this Saint-Ville guy, because we talking about the politicians in the name of Guy Joseph, and you want to see something's happened as regards to justice happening with them. Me silapan situes lapan vole eklan sak public servants yote andai. He's one of them.
The consultant engineer stressed that the roof is already compromised and it is better to come down in a structured operation. However, He said once the roof comes down, it will set a series of events into motion.
But once the fiberglass sheets come off, it means the process now to remove the rest of the roof must follow in a sequence. It must follow. So the moving of the hospital from this facility, it must happen. Once this sheeting comes off, that's it. The sequence of events, you would say, has started. So the hospital must be taken off from this stadium in the shortest possible time.
So all advice that he had and didn't really care, because when it comes down to it, these people are there for what they can get. I also remember seeing him after the passage of Elsa, and he was right there by the Prime Minister. You'll see him, I think, in a blue shirt, trying to walk away from the camera. May Itila, watch him.
So you're considered 6? What about you? What about you and if you and
Okay, but you and V, how many people have done that?
About 6.
Oh, this is you here.
That's you and V here, right? That's you and V right here.
All right, boss.
We're not done yet. Let's take a look at some of the documents that we've gotten showing direct awards to a public servant, Saintville, being given to his company, Teams Inc. Let's take a look at that. I think, you know, when you're seeing, you can get zoom in on it, you know, how can you be working for government and still be getting these contracts and still be getting, you know, certain contracts to be doing things in different communities like Miku and the Miku Wellness Center, Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. And that again shows that this man, and there are people, a lot of them like him, who will do that. And I don't think there's any time in wasting, well, how much is it? $172,714 that you're getting from government. Public servant, how these people do not care about St. Jude's. Come down, talk to me. Let the people see me. They do not care about St. Jude's. They don't care about the people that are suffering still in the stadium. So and I understand that there is a diplomatic way of doing things, but you need your people. You need your people. And I think if I have to follow Catherine Sears and give advice, I do not want it to be the same thing where we talk about St. Jude's, but there are people who feel like, you know, they're in it together with the St. Lucia Labour Party, and when the time comes, because the St. Lucia Labour Party is so insecure of, you know, stability, so insecure of making sure that they make and appease all public servants, that they will ostracize the people that were there with them. I do not want that to happen. I do not want that to happen. And when people, especially when people have been part of a corrupt system, you know, again, I said you have to be diplomatic, but you need your people to make sure that you are okay. I'm not going to do that. So even as the commissioning team, they already say it's being formed. I think it was a missed opportunity to really show that there are actual experts that have been speaking in the past 5 years, that they have an input, and they will be overseeing the St. Jude's project as it goes now. So I think that was a field opportunity, but also a step in the right direction, if you understand me. Let's take a look at the next image where it's again showing what will be happening. It says here, Philip J. Pierre, today we are visiting St. Jude's redevelopment project. A technical team has been commissioned to assess how best we can expedite efforts to operationalize this healthcare facility. A comprehensive update will be shared with the public, and you know, we await that. But as always, we speak here with transparency, we speak here with sincerity and honesty, and that is where my mind is at. I'm also getting word that just earlier, some of these same people who were not at that site visit have been they have now formed part of this commissioning team. So I think it's late and it's a missed opportunity, but I did want to see them there. And you know, it's even the late formation of these things, and they've been told today, right now, a few minutes ago, I don't think, you know, that's good enough. We need to be aware of those things, and that is my advice to the St. Lucia Labour Party. We'll be right back.
I can't stay.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated. We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated.
Now that there is a vaccine, I am very optimistic that we can return to a sense of normalcy very soon. And that means having that first fete, that first concert, that first party. Encourage your friends to get vaccinated so that the sooner we get to this herd immunity, the sooner we can be out there again. The chance to see our local and international artists on the stage performing again to a very captive audience. People enjoying themselves, people relaxing, people letting go. This, for me, is what I would really like to see. So, go out, get vaccinated, let's make it a reality.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Available at Red Dot in Grosile and Susie's Varieties in Bois de Wange and Vieux-Fort.
Don't play with man. UTV is the baddest channel in the land. You deeper than soca, this is Sidney, and anytime I am in St. Lucia, I'm watching UTV. You don't know, the best.
I can't stay.
Are you more inclined to get vaccinated now that we have a choice of vaccines? We tallied the numbers on our voting platforms, and here is how you voted. 78% said yes, and 22% said no. We also took to the streets to get your opinion, and here's what you had to say.
Well, I feel it gives people the opportunity to weigh in on whichever they want, because we have an option. People who didn't want the AstraZeneca can now go for the Pfizer one. And I think it would be good for the country, all those who are willing and able to go for it. That would help the curtailing of the spread of the coronavirus.
I was also inclined to take it. I'm just scared of needles. But my fear of needles is secondary. I will be taking the vaccine on Thursday, sorry.
I think we live in a democratic country first and foremost. Everybody should know what's good for them. I believe in pro-choice. That's it, bottom line.
La nan chay moun ki de ka espere Pfizer vaccine. Actuellement, mani li de pli moun kay vini pour vaccine because bay la vini dangereux ces jours ça. So me encourage tout moun pour aller pour vaccine Pfizer pour des t-shirt pour nous garder si nous ça changer bagay because corona dangereux ces jours ça.
Trust the science, my people. I'd advise you all to take it. I'll be taking my shot as well.
Well, the way I see that, if science giving us something, and those of us who have the confidence in science, I don't see why they can take it. But you still have a choice, and I will advise them to take it. Because science, I don't think science would be giving us a 649 in that sense of the word.
Yes, now that we have a second option, I would think that I will take it. Yes, if it supposed to happen, then yes, I would take the second. Yes, and I would encourage other persons to take it as well, because our cases are rising right now. If that's what's going to help us, then I think we should.
Welcome back, and that I think is just part of the discussions that we need to have. There is vaccine hesitancy that we're seeing in the country, and that's when people they don't accept or they're afraid of taking vaccines even when there's despite it being available to them. And I think for some people out now that Pfizer is out, they're more accepting and they're going out now to take it. And one of those people is a media colleague, Andre Paul, who yesterday did that on the show, and I thought it was interesting in the way that it happened. It was really entertaining to watch, and I think too the response to that happening will really let us know what's going on in our country. What will we be seeing? There are people, and not just here, but around the world, where we're seeing the disinformation and the different theories that people are having and how it's affecting the uptake of the vaccines and by and large the public health situation. So with Andre Paul, like I said, interesting stuff. He was, by his own admission, he wasn't really keen on taking it, but with the Pfizer coming out and with the Delta variant and the way things are getting so dire, he's decided to take it. So let's take a look at that.
I think it's a moment. Just about it.
Yeah, because whilst they're doing that, we can talk. It's a serious. It's situation. It's
very serious.
And you're going to hear.
If anyone is to pretend otherwise,
yes,
it's a joke.
So
it's very serious.
We want to hear what's going on. We can't just leave the country and people think that everything is all right. I mean, policies has to change. Things has to be put in place, because before we were hearing a lot of talk and people had all kind of advices and things they should do. Now let us hear it. Let us put it in place now.
Look, I get my card already.
Yeah, you have get the job.
Okay,
you get the card.
He's got a card before.
I get a card already.
You get the card before the horse.
Oh, and look, here comes the nurse.
You see, Andre, a special selected nurse.
Hey, Andre, remove your shirt.
Paul.
It'll be my pleasure. It'll be my pleasure.
Yes. Come on,
I gotta find out the name of the nurse, Andre. Aren't you gonna ask the nurse her name?
Don't worry, take your time. Take your time.
I feel sorry for my friend.
History is made in St. Lucia today,
Yeah.
We have camera. Even Solange is there.
Yes.
First time I see Solange in the studio.
Moral support, Andre.
First time. Hey,
moral support, Andre. Look, Steve is there. Look, Steve. Another one again.
Bon Dieu, Steve and you Chappé. I see a Shabin Chappé. I see another Shabin Chappé at the back there. Mama. Whoa, things getting turn up.
Are you nervous, Mr. Paul?
No, at all.
Okay. Pull your sleeve.
Look at who's close to me there. Aye. Good morning. Hi. Did Stanley ask you to come and do this thing for us today? Yes? Okay, come. Don't be shy. Come a little closer. Hey. Now you're not getting cold. So you ready?
When you ready.
What's your name, Nurse?
Antoine.
Nurse Antoine.
Nurse Antoine,
okay?
yes.
Yeah, so Nurse Antoine, just come a little closer there and make sure.
The biggest needle you have there.
So, Anali.
Pull up your sleeve, Andre.
Take your time. Let the nurse do that, Charlie. Let the nurse take care of that. All right. You ready? She's almost there. So, Charlie, let's talk in the meantime.
Yes.
What you tell me now? What you tell me?
And I feel sorry for you now, because
So, which one are you taking, Andre? Are you taking the AstraZeneca or are you taking the Pfizer?
Pfizer, hey, for true.
They have a mixture for you, Andre.
Yeah. So, can I ask you a question, maybe? I don't know if you're in a position to answer that. When I first heard about the Pfizer vaccine, I thought we'd never get that in St. Lucia. That's what I thought. And because of the fact that it has to be frozen or something like that, the temperature. So how were we able to do
the
it?
Temperature
can you explain that?
Has been adjusted.
Can you explain?
We got them.
She probably can come on this side. Come, nurse.
Yeah.
Put my vaccine back inside.
Yes.
Okay, but it's all right. She has to put the vaccine back inside. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so you were saying, nurse?
You take your vaccine before the temperature will lose the temperature.
No, I'm just curious to know.
Well, afterwards
you know. Okay, well, it's coming.
Take it there.
He's scared,
He's scared.
Round and round they go.
He's scared.
And when they're done, I'll let you know. Okay.
Pull up your shirt, Andre.
Take your time, Charlie. What to the old man?
I want to make sure that you change your mind.
What to the old man?
He's hoping they don't go through.
Solange, you joining me, Solange?
Okay, so you're going to take it on which arm?
No, this arm.
Yeah. So I want you to pull up your sleeve.
Yeah, let me see that.
You want to pull up your sleeve. Don't pull your muscles. Just stay.
Just be relaxed, Mr. Paul.
Yeah.
Relax.
Let me go.
1, 2, 3.
You see how gentle she is?
That's what I like.
She's very gentle.
Oh, yeah, I'll pull the shit for her.
Yeah. Take a deep breath, Andre.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, come on. You finished already? That was fast and sweet. Mama.
Yeah.
That was fast and sweet.
So Andre, now you realize what the ladies go through with you.
Thank you very much.
Andre, now you realize.
Solange, you next. You next, Solange.
Andre, say it again. That was what? That was what?
It's so fast, Gaza.
Right.
Yeah.
So your customer heard that?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
I thought that was really, really entertaining, and yeah, Charlie's our slave, but he has an infectious laugh, and yeah, it was good TV, I thought, and I think it was really relatable for the people who are hesitant about taking the vaccine, really going out there and deciding to do it. I think it was good. I never heard a man tell a man to move their shit so much. On to you, Charlie. And also, they're all nasty jokes you giving the man, but it seemed to be good fun, and I liked looking at it. But this is where we are with some people that have decided to change their minds with the vaccine and look into the research. But there exists a reality as well where people do not believe in that, and that is what I think the Ministry of Health, different people are combating against. Is the different information going around, and that is clearly hindering the uptake of the vaccine. And Talk Truth to Power, a show aired on UTV. With the hosts there, they have been very clear about where they stand with the vaccine, and they're not for it, they're against it. But I think it's important that we truly, because maybe you don't watch it, but this is what is out there, not just on the show, but some conversations that are happening in people's living rooms, and certain people have that ideology, and that, I think, is what we're seeing in this country. So I think even with Andre Paul really showing us just a snapshot of what it might look like for some people who were against it at one point, and now they're for it. For those that want to advocate and encourage people to take the vaccine, I understand that. There's evidence of it. You have the research, the doctors are saying it, SLMDA, CMO, Prime Minister, Tutmun Kavindi, take the vaccine. But there exists a different reality where this is what people believe is real.
Y'all remember Jonas and Muspas was telling y'all, among us are sellouts. They are there just for rewards and 40 pieces of silver.
Brother Joe, you gave me an assignment. You remember what assignment you gave me?
Refresh the memory, because
you told me to try to get the CMO.
Right. Tell me the good news.
So I did call the CMO. She answered, she spoke to me, I told her about Talk Truth to Power. She told me, well, she will try to get one of her representatives to come on board, because I tell her right now that we could see that we have a large amount of people that hesitant towards that, and we want to explain that. I don't know if she, after we spoke, if she go and view on UTV, go and view Talk Truth to Power, and she said she'll not be able maybe to handle that kind of truth. After that, I tried to message her and call. She declined. She don't take me on and them kind of, because she see that she will be in the furnace there. And thing, honestly.
The thing about it is we are very raw. We're not refined. So we speak truth from our hearts to our people.
Yeah.
Even if it means our death. But the Master have spoken to me and I've spoken to him.
Yes.
What we're doing here can lead to our death. We can even die. And we may die. And we will die to show that truth must stand. Do not sell out solutions, because at the end of the day, the sellouts will be exposed and those who speak the truth shall stand. All what they make us take the vaccine for makes no sense. When you're sick and you're dying,
we live in all that.
You take the vaccine tomorrow. How can you tell me must pass? A vaccine that's not even 2 years old. It's barely a year. How long has that vaccine been on the market now?
About 7-8 months.
Barely months, because the pandemic started in March last year, or a little before that.
Right.
So we don't have 2 years yet in the pandemic. It's 1 year we had a whole lockdown pandemic, everybody panicking, and then bam comes the solution. So the whole mantra is
and
chaos and order.
all the time they had us just lockdown and
Lockdown,
they didn't have no variants,
but you know, I don't believe that they just made those vaccines. Those vaccines has been there prepared already.
Yeah, the beast don't do nothing
just
for tomorrow.
No,
they don't do that.
No, how can you make all of those millions of vaccines?
Well, they have machine and thing, but like the because everything that work in there is engineered science.
But of course.
So they have these things already. All now, so they have their concentration camps where they're doing their testing and everything. You understand? So these things have.
So how can solutions tell me a vaccine that's a couple of months old, when doctors tell you for a vaccine to be prepared and ready for the market between 5 to 10 years, even more, just to make sure you're precise and you're safe? They've bypassed that. Go and call for state of emergency just to get the experimental vaccine to pass, so they can use it on you. The vaccine not even a year old yet, but solutions are there telling people it's safe. The sellouts are on radio, on TV, telling you the vaccine is safe, when it has not been even proven for years to show it is safe. Barely 1 year. So guess what? You now are a lab rat, an experiment. If it goes wrong, you don't want to know if this experimental vaccine goes wrong. You don't want to know. Believe me, if tomorrow that this thing is a lie and it's all been a sham and all about making money for the big pharmaceutical companies, and they have injected not only our parents, not only our grandparents, they are so wicked and evil. They're now after our children must pass.
They have always been after our children.
But never like before, like now. Yeah. They now tell you the vaccine for the 16-year-old. Now imagine Pfizer say the vaccine should be given to 16 years and older. St. Lucia always off, you know. St. Lucians do hair. Our leaders don't listen.
Now, you might say that, you know, they show food, just candy, show just kapalibetes, but I think it's an issue where you shouldn't run away from it. I think again, it's a reflection of what some other people are saying in our communities, and that's why our percentage of people who are taking the vaccines, that is so low. We'll open the lines now at 572-7588 and also via WhatsApp at 484-7588. When you listen to these two speak on, you know, the vaccination and COVID and the entire thing, I think it is warranted. I think the CMO needs to go on that show. I think it would mean a lot. I think it would change the perception of a lot of people if she does go there and, you know, try to try to tell them exactly, you know, what exactly is going on, you know, a real scientific basis, and really hash it out on national television for everybody to see. Now, as for those saying, you know, why give them a platform, there again, it's freedom. People are allowed to have their platforms to say what they want, but I think it was really indicative of where we are when you get the calls from that show. There's a following for that show. They have comments on that show, people agreeing with what they're saying. So we have an ability as a country to dismiss people because you think, oh, they're just stupid and they're just dumb. But some people do have a platform, they do have influence, and I think hearing you know, Muspas talk about the CMO saying that he did contact her and nothing came out of that, you know, it looks like you're backing away. Really Palibayo, and not just when you're talking to them, it will be for the thousands of St. Lucians still with their misgivings and still with the hesitancy of the vaccine, I think it would mean a lot as we go on. And it also means for me that even those of you in the comments, those of you, you know, feeling that's a Papi show, you know, it really does show us that even in St. Lucia right now, there are two very different realities where people are saying, let's take the vaccine, let's get this done, let's be together as a country. We cannot afford to get this any worse than it already is. We've already surpassed 100 deaths related to COVID-19. Let's just do what we need to do and move forward. And on the other side of it, people are just, it's a matter of trust. They don't trust the government, they don't trust the CMO, they don't trust what's being said, they don't trust Fauci. All of that is happening in St. Lucia at the same time. So you need someone to bridge the gap there, and I think the CMO needs to come on that show. Let's take that call. Good morning. Good afternoon,
Good morning, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. I think, again, Trisha, you hitting the nail on the head. I love the comments before that, are there UWP hacks masquerading as persons who are benefiting, obviously, from the public interest and also in public servant positions. So I applaud you for calling that out. On the issue that you just raised there, I mean, many people may watch the show and say, look, these guys are talking this and propaganda. No, this is where the public perception is, and this is where the hesitancy lies. And some people are warranted in some of their decisions, and it's really important that people pay some respect to individuals' opinion. And I applaud you and welcome you in calling out the CMO to go on the show, or persons from the Ministry of Health, because at the end of the day, as I've said before, we have lost trust in the public health officials who have led us over the last 12 months. The way they can regain the trust is by going on those shows and having honest and frank conversations. Nobody doubts their abilities. What we doubt is that trust is not there. So as you said, how do we bridge the gap? So is the CMO going to take a position to go on the show, or other public health officials to have the conversation? The data says it, Tresha. When you look at the persons who are vaccinated and you look at the population across St. Lucia as to where those persons are, it ties very much so as to where the conversation needs to be had. We need to get on the grassroots, we need to get into the constituencies, we need to get into the communities and the health clinics and centers. The doctors need to come out of their Eiffel and Ivory Towers and get down to meet the people. Thank you, Trisha.
Before you leave, though,
yes, okay.
Speak to me on the CMO and yourself and the matter arising there. I think there was a cease and desist letter from the CMO to you.
Allegedly, it's from an individual from a senior. Well, look, I am going to cut it in anyway. Yes, I received a cease and desist letter from the chief medical officer in relation to me as a citizen expressing concerns over the last number of months. And I would like the nation to know this is the third time I have received a call from the chief medical officer advising me how to use my platform. The last call I received from her didn't go well. And in
when
that,
you say it didn't go well, what does that mean?
I found the chief medical officer went above and beyond her capacity in speaking to a citizen to advise me what I should say on my platform or what I shouldn't say on my platform. Her call was not to provide information. It was not in any way to provide context. Her call was to put me in my place. And that call did not go well. And I called her out on it. And in that line, it has further gone into a cease and desist letter being sent to me. A Papi show letter, to be honest.
What's your response to that then? By the way, we're speaking with Akeem Lacha.
I
just want the people to know who we're speaking to. He is the son of Mr. Lacha, Wilkinson Lacha. Also, I think he was, he died of COVID complications as well.
Correct. He died. He was either the second individual on November.
And since
10th.
then, we've seen a lot of the advocating that you've done on social media and everything else. So, what were you saying? What's your response now to this cease and desist letter from the CMO?
My response is I'm continuing to do what I do, in that I have a right as a citizen to call into question decisions that have been made by public health officials or public servants who are making decisions that impact the lives and livelihoods of St. Lucians. So I have made comments in the public realm, which I believe public servants know that they are supposed to have enough vigor to respond to. This is in the capacity of their jobs. This is not in her capacity as an individual. I am asking questions of the office of the CMO and as an individual, the person who's holding that position as the chief medical officer. Why they remained silent when certain things happened. Why they made certain decisions that are impacting St. Lucians' lives, and they are not speaking out in a public capacity to say this is not supposed to happen. And an example of that, again, I will mention, is the hotels are requesting individuals to sign in their names when they're going to public beaches, and to take temperature checks. The CMO in her capacity, or the office of the CMO, should be speaking out against this publicly. When individuals have been held at gunpoint by the police force, the CMO should, in her capacity, and other individuals should speak against other forms and departments of the government that are using their force through the lens of COVID. These teenagers were held at gunpoint and escorted through the streets of Ancillary because of COVID protocols. That was not her aim. She, of course, did not want that to happen. But if the protocols allowed the police to make that sort of infraction, who is going to speak out if not the persons who created the protocols? So my advocacy will continue as a concerned private citizen. That is my response. They shall not silence us online.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Archer.
you.
I appreciate your contribution.
Thank you, Tresha.
And for speaking with us. I think we have another call. Good afternoon. Okay, we seem to have lost that one. So again, these issues with COVID and the vaccination, I think it's something that we have to speak about. And like Mr. Laja said there, it's also a discussion that we need to have too on, you know, the people that we put in public office, public servants, and, you know, dealing with that from the very first segment in speaking with Saint-Ville. And again, he is a metaphor for the rest of the people there who have aided and abetted, who have been part of the perpetuation of corruption in the past administration. There is no place for you and for what you have done. And no, for me personally, I'm the Prime Minister, but I don't want to hear your advice. Utila, you have seen it, you've been part of it. You take materials from hospitals, people don't know where it is. Up to now, how many years passed, you don't know where these things have gone. So no, I don't want to hear it. Let's take the other call. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Tisha, I'm just calling shortly to say something that you said earlier on about this Saint-Ville fella. That Philip J. Pierre and that tour they had there, as my Prime Minister had this man among him. On this man in 2018, I could remember this man said when Flabo was in power, he said that if the roof of the stadium gone, that the stadium gone. Right or wrong?
Right. We just played it.
Okay. This guy, I want Mr. Philip to be hearing my voice, Richard Frederick, all of them. But I will go to Viewfort with APA to make my live show, for them to be seeing the face of the man who's talking. This man have no right to be among these Labour Party people, which Makenikat, all the other fellas that put their life and their bread online talking about what is happening in St. Jude. It is not right and blah, blah, blah. And today, you having this guy, no matter he come by himself, no matter you all bring him or what, he's supposed to be nowhere at all among this crew of that tour. You know what it is of putting your people first? I want my government to know. Do he really know what it means by putting your people first?
Not putting your people, just people.
Yeah, just putting people first. People you put in first is the people who put their bread on the line, their life on the line, to see success in our country. It's not those people who crucify us saying this and that, and today those people is still among us as hacks and hypocrites are there. I don't support this thing. You see that Senville fella? He had no right to be among this tour, even though he invite himself or he take a tour. He had no right to be there. In fact, they even had to chase him. And that's all I have to say for now. But I will go to APA and we will make the show that they can see my face, because I don't please with those kind of things. Your people, the people, that's how you put them first. The people that sacrifice their life, their bread, their children and everything to put their people and their country first. That's how I'm seeing it. I want Mr. Philip J. Pierre to be hearing this kind of thing. Take responsibility of the people that take responsibility of their country.
Thank you very much.
That's how you put your people first and the people first.
Thank you very much, caller.
Makenikat is nowhere to be. Makenikat is nowhere to be on that tour they had there. So much of the people that could have been in that tour that was there, and you telling me about Senville, the same guy that say when the roof of the stadium go down, there is nothing less, just because he want to get the money from Guy to be doing a new hospital and crucifying us, making us suffer. What is this? What is happening? What is really happening?
Thank you very much, caller. I think we have another call on hold. I appreciate your contribution.
Okay, have a nice day.
All right, take care. And like I said, people will have their opinions. I think that it's not just, lack in PR. I mean, on the ground, you can imagine there will be people like Senville, and they'll be saying, let's go over there and let's look over there. You need people who are, have the wherewithal enough to say, not there, let's do this instead. Or they're listening as you are there yourself. So there's a discourse at the moment. So even if you will get Mark Hennicarts in the commission and there will be another one, but it won't be the same. It won't be like, have questions and it being answered and having a discourse with the Prime Minister right there, so you know exactly what you're doing. Maybe there'll be another one, and maybe Mark Hennicart and John Peters and the others who I have found out will be part of the commission team. They've been told that just a few moments ago that that's happening, but it means something that we could see that happening together, that Philip J. Pierre could hear and feel what's going on at the same time, and when them hacks there pretending to care about the country. We have another call. I think our last. Let's say good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Trisha.
How are you, sir?
I did not too bad holding on. I listened to, before I tell you about the last caller. Let me say that to you. I don't think when our people will learn, I will never know when they will learn. I've said it before. Most institutions were never ready. I don't think they'll be ever ready. Our people do not understand governance. How it goes, how it doesn't go. When they're making progress for them, they do not understand that their capacity of thinking is not up there. Now, let me tell you about the guy who talk about Senville. Let me tell you, it's the same thing. They don't understand governance. For you to get certain things, or for you to know certain things, in that commission, I don't know the commission, I never heard the names of the commission, or whatever commission of people they have there in the previous administration. I'm saying to you, it is good to have these people there to get to know what's going on, what went on in the past 5 years, or etc., etc. You cannot do something unless you don't have these fellas around.
But caller, I'm not disagreeing with you. I believe Saintville has to be there as a ministry official. He has to be there. I understand that. I'm saying he's a public servant and he's there giving advice and saying what happened in the past 5 years. Say the other professionals that can give an understanding.
Oui, c'est très même la on pour ni c'est la pourtant ça il a dit ça qui fait ça qui pas fait so then from ça ça qui décision pour prendre c'est ça la doula pas ça just brush him to our side
mais nous quand dit même bagaille là
mais c'est meilleur moi just fini doula that's why the fella said the Senville should not be there And I'm saying to you, he's supposed to be there. All right. Now, what I'm saying, the other thing I want to say to you, I'm saying it again. I said it to you last time. I'm going to say it again. Minister of Education, Minister in charge of Labor, and the Ministry who in charge of Gender Development, Social Welfare Development of People, Family Court, etc., etc. Please do yourselves that favor. It's time to revamp these ministries, especially Ministry of Education, with the present situation of COVID-19. It is time to have a consultation on education for 5 years. The same way with Labor Department. A lot of people lose their job and they get nothing from the people they laid off. It's time to revamp the Labor Department. It is time to do that. Because a lot of the business places like Massey and all of them taking advantage over people. It's time to revamp that Labor Department. It's time. Stop having the same thing all the time. If that's a senseless way of doing things, you have to modernize things. The same way that social welfare development, you need to modernize it. Stop staying in the same place all the time for the last 20, 40 years. Modernize these three departments because they're very important to the nation.
And you're right, especially now with everything going on with COVID. Cole, I think we are clearly very, very over time. I want to thank you for your contribution.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
All right, take care. You too. Have a good one. I think that's it. Okay, everyone. That's it for the show. I know that, we can differ in how we think of things, but we encourage all different thoughts with the different issues that we are discussing. We will continue to do so every weekday from 11, and that will be tomorrow, where I hope to see you guys, and I hope until we meet next that you remain safe. And as for the vaccination and COVID and the hesitancy that some people still experience, I would say that the best advice right now would be to speak to your doctor, because right now we're seeing this as an issue of trust, and I think people would trust their doctors. So depending on what your doctor says, on the advice of whatever your doctor says, I think you can go ahead and see what you're doing with the vaccine. There's just so much that we need to do. And as for the CMO, clearly if it's a matter of trust, I've spoken about the CMO as well, what we've seen in the past 2 years with the CMO in the past administration. So yes, if Muspa is calling you, I say go on the show, see what you can do, try to bridge that gap, try to get people to understand and listen to what you're saying. And for the others, I would say as well, like I said before, speak to your doctor. And that's it for me today. I expect the barrage of messages telling me about the English Labour Party, but I said what I said, and I said it with my chest, and that is what I believe. Okay, so we'll continue to have these discussions tomorrow. Until then, have a good one.
I can't stay.